Hey there. Thanks for coming by. This is Artsy Wisdom, and my name is Diane. I have some new predictions. I did some meditating, and I wanted to share those with you. Thank you to all my new subscribers. I am thrilled, beyond thrilled. It means I'm doing something that interests you. So thank you very much. Continue to come back. I'm going to regularly do more predictions, energy shifts, as time passes. And I've said this before, time isn't a straight line. It's sort of a spiral, and we can jump from edge to edge. So it depends on free will and how everybody moves along. But I love doing this. So I'm excited to share that with you and that we have this little connection. So it's awesome. So let's get going. So first I have the world global stuff that I looked into, the comments. I had a few questions about certain countries. And then eventually I'm going to look into the astrology for the states and the repeat aspects related to the Civil War, Revolutionary War. There is a thing. There is some Pluto-Uranus stuff that I'll explain in a little bit. All right, so let's start from the outside in, globally. Somebody asked about Colombia. Excuse me. And when I meditated on Colombia, and like I said, I try not to look into the countries before I do this so I can be like clear-headed about it. And what I saw was them target shooting. Like there's 3 circles and they were shooting through targets. And I know back in the day it was a big cocaine route, and there was a lot of drug cartels. Maybe there still is. I don't know. I hate to disparage Colombia, but I think now they've gotten through a lot of that, and they're on the upswing. But anyway, I saw the targets, and I also saw games and flags, and the Olympics. And I don't know if Colombia is having interest in hosting the Olympics or sports or World Cup or anything like that. I believe they have a soccer team that's in the World Cup. Really don't follow that. Not sure. I also, with all my dessert references that I use, I saw the coffee, Colombian coffee, obviously. That's a no-brainer. But I saw it had lots of whipped cream on it, and it looked yummy, and I wanted to have it when I drank it. So that told me whatever's happening is very good and delicious. I didn't feel any negativity around the future of Colombia. I did feel like what I was seeing was more of a, with the sports analogies or the target shooting, was more of attempts to grow the country. I did see fireworks like spinning in a parade, and I also saw it I saw somebody's getting money. It isn't like where I saw Canada getting money going down the drain. I saw it like they're getting money and they're slipping it under something. Maybe it is corruption, but I don't feel like the money is going towards what it's supposed to go towards. But it's not I feel like it's not limiting a heck of a lot, this money, but it is going underneath, like under a mattress, like they're saving it. So maybe it's more about taking the money they're getting from one area of the country and putting it into something else. That's all that I noticed about Colombia. But I did have a good feeling that they're, working towards a better country. My husband's hanging shelves in the garage, so I apologize. He's feeling better. And I happened to see Kenya again. The one time I did a reading on African women came to mind in West Africa, starting up these jobs or some sort of process or businesses, or giving women money to support business job growth for women, and the men come along. Like there's a lot of spearheading by women. But I did see in Kenya women handing money out on ships. So like they're coming on the coast and they're giving money to ships, or maybe they're sending materials or products, or they're giving some sort of transportation costs for things to go back, or they're having a relationship with suppliers, something, but it's a positive thing. But I did see him handing money out to ships. I know there's something with the Red Sea, but in the ships having issues with terrorists attacking, they're having to divert it. But I don't feel like that's related to this at all. And somebody asked about Australia, and this is going to sound weird, but all of this is kind of weird anyway. I saw like a southern belle in Australia. I don't think of as related to the United States South. I don't know. Anyway, I saw her with as the energy of Australia. I saw her with that. This thing is being goofy. I saw her with as a giant dress, a huge dress, but somebody like a Southern Belle, and where they, okay, get my scarf situated. So I saw her at Australia as a Southern Belle with this giant skirt, with a hoop skirt, if anybody knows what that is. And very 1850s, 60s style. I don't know what happened in Australia back then, but there's some of the energy from that. And that I'm putting in the South in that time, I'm putting in the mind of slavery pre-Civil War. Maybe have something to do with Aboriginal people. I don't know. But I saw her fanning herself in the old ways, and I heard the word bountiful. So I don't know if that's natural resources or something that is being used. Like the last time I did the reading on New Zealand, that's the feeling I got too, was there's really the new the person that they've just elected has allowed a lot more natural resources being either mining or whatever that is. In Australia, I feel like there's a lot of, it might be natural resources or people or things that they're saying it's bountiful. So like the South, there's crops or there's something that's the two have a very similar vibe. The bad thing I did see was some deadly winds. I saw winds that are almost like erasing whole swaths of land. And I don't know if it's related to those wildfires from a couple of years ago, and so much got burnt, and so now there's not enough vegetation to have windbreaks along the way. But I saw it like the winds being so deadly. That's the word I got, was deadly. So a lot of plus things, no desserts. That's the feeling you get. So anyway, deadly wind, and I also saw shouting. And I don't know if this is even possible because a lot of the world is the jet streams are changing and the weather is changing. But I saw that parts of Australia are rising. I don't know if it's related to the tectonic plates. And don't know, energy. Maybe I'm completely out of my mind. So that's the feeling I got. Part of Australia I felt like was raising. Maybe it was getting drier in the winds. There's something shifting. All right. I did see Denmark. I don't know if anybody asked about the Netherlands. I saw Denmark's edge going into the water, or part of it. And I know I was seeing water lapping up against the western part of Europe on the France-Germany edge going eastward, I guess. And Denmark, I see the edge going down into the water. So they're sinking farther in, but I also saw them like a dog shaking, when a dog gets wet and it shakes off all its water, like it's working. It's like, okay, this is what we deal with. And they shook off all the water and they're building roads. I saw them building these super long roads, and maybe it's symbolic, but super long roads up to higher lands, higher mountains, higher areas. And it's a very long-term project because or maybe this is something related to another thing, but the roads are a metaphor. So they're creating a long-term project where people can live in a higher land, or where their water won't be as, they won't have as much flooding. There's a big plan. Don't know if that's true or not. That's the images I got. And then I did see, this is what's happened before, is I did see Scotland or Northern England and the Scandinavia or northern, parts of Europe on that end, Denmark, Northern Germany maybe. There's an interchange or exchange of people or something. It felt like it was people, immigrants or people working back and forth or something, which I know that's pretty good distance. I don't think people are traveling for work, but I saw marshmallows in the ocean and people, they were like stepping stones, but they were very floating. So people were trying to jump from one marshmallow, step, but it was like this. In the last video, I saw Macron and the UK guy, not Richie Sunak, but the English character, trying to reach across the channel, but they couldn't hold hands. It was too flexible and nobody could, it was too up and down. The water, I think, was changing too much. I did see Putin. The one time I saw him inside the chocolate egg on a conveyor belt and it was kind of chewing away underneath. I see that even worse. I do see Putin getting like almost sucked under. Like if there's a conveyor belt under this egg, he is getting pulled out and he's like on a treadmill when something falls off the back and it shoots across the room, sort of. That's the feeling I got. And then I saw him dump off the conveyor belt into a trash can or something with paper in it. And it was like he was small. He was really small. And I'm not sure who put him. I think I don't know who it was, but I see him on a little shelf and there's big eyes, like in one of those movies like Honey, I Shrunk the Kid, where Putin is on the shelf and somebody's looking at him and he's really teeny and they're really big. So it signifies that he may have an election. He's talking about it. He may win, but it's only going to be for show. I also saw the soldiers holding up that egg thing moving forward, but it was sort of empty. He had moved on backwards, I guess, or fell off, and somebody else was in his place, but this person was somebody that he put in place. So, let's see. I think, somebody had asked about world immigration. If the climate change will create more migration of people. I think yes, in areas I saw, definitely that's possible. I also felt this sense of impending doom. Not that it was coming or anything. I think that sense is already here for a lot of people. The change is so fast in our human bodies and nature. This is so much change is happening so quickly. I think people are scared and survival rules are in place. So that means, typical lawlessness, things because, we've got to save ourselves kind of thing. So energy is like, the 60s and the Civil War. So I'm going to get into that again, like I said. But the vibe is shifts are so rapid and people have a sense of, oh my goodness, what's going to happen next? So they want to move. So the migration from South America up to the States or Africa to Europe or wherever people come from, and because there is such an unpredictability right now. A lot of unpredictability. Some of it's climate, some of it's energetic planetary shifts, some of it's, and that's related to the governments and other people changing. And so people are scared. So they're just going where they can feel safe. And there's just also, I think I've said this before, people have permission to do things that they never would normally do. Anyway, yeah. So I think I'm going to just quickly touch on the astrology. So I did look into the American Revolutionary chart, and there's a lot of controversy on which chart to use. Some people say it's July 4th. Some August 2nd was when they actually all signed it. I kept it on the 4th of July, and I don't have the exact time. There's not an exact time because many people have signed it at different times. And there's also other people have tried to rectify the chart, meaning they try to get it exactly by using they try to get the exact moment when United States became its birth by using future events. But what I did was use the July 4th. And so that gives us a Cancer sun. And Mars is close. Mars is in Gemini and Uranus is in Gemini. And the United States has a serious freedom. We are a freedom-loving country. We love our freedom. And that's what I took as our energy. So I kept it where it was. So Uranus is in Gemini. And then Pluto was in Capricorn and late Capricorn. So we just went through the Pluto return. It's actually still almost exact, but Pluto's been moving back and forth on that birth Pluto. So that's why we've been going through these massive transitions where it feels like we are being, everything's upended and it's being dug out from the ground. And what do we need? And are we using this anymore? Let's get rid of this. And Pluto is about all things that we can't see, and it's about very big transformation. So we're meeting up with our old selves saying, okay, is this you anymore? I don't think we need to purge. So that's what we've been doing. But when that happens, it triggers a lot of people to hold on to what they don't need or are scared to lose. And that's what the fear and everything. So that's the energy. That's part of the energy. And then there's also other complex other aspects. But I did look at what was going on during the Civil War or right before it, 1860. And what my perception is October of next year, there's going to be a lot of energy there's going to be a lot of amped up energy right before the election. So that it's going to trigger this need to be free. Don't tell us what to do. We're a democracy and we want to have our own way of doing it and don't tell, So that's triggering right before the election. Then, if we make that through that and we manage ourselves, Pluto is going to be moving out of Capricorn, and that's what's been pushing all this massive feeling of impending shifts that many people aren't comfortable with. I mean, most people are noticing it, but some people have a hard time with it. And there's a lot of fear that gets promoted. So it's going to be moving into Aquarius. It has been on and off, but it's going to finally move through there. Is it next year or the year later? But what I see is Uranus is going to conjunct its spot. And that was the birthplace for Uranus. And Uranus represents our freedom and our need to manage ourselves. Also humanity, also doing things technologically more advanced and genius type things. But that's going to be the whole summer of 27, up to that, parts of 26. But by then, Pluto will have moved away from the Capricorn spot that has given us these feelings. So by then, it can manifest in a few ways. It can be more where we are really, because the Aquarian energy is coming into with Pluto and Aquarius, that we're going to be more focused on technology and humanity, where we'll have more freedom, but there'll also be more technological advances that'll help people, hopefully. The last time that happened was 1859. But there was other things, like I said, that were happening at the same time. There's a big shift with Neptune, which is about religion and spirituality and kind of getting confused about what's real and what's not. So several years, this next summer and into the fall will be a little testy. And then parts of 26, the summer of 26, and then into 27. And then eventually that'll ease up. But we take the energy and use it to the highest level possible, right? All right, so I did this in the other video. I explained, I try to put my ego aside when I meditate. I try not to be biased. I am a human being. I have opinions, but take it or leave it. Obviously, if you're not into this, then you're not here. But if you're listening, I just want you to be aware that I try to do my best. So I looked into that Mike Johnson. They had brought up he and Joaquin Jeffries, because he's in the House. They came and they got a loose budget or plan to move towards Senate to hopefully get approved so we can not shut down the government. And I had seen him before as the great and powerful Oz behind the curtain trying to do all these buttons. And he was, but I did see him slightly different now with, it's going to sound crazy, but I don't know if you guys even know this stuff. There used to be it's probably illegal, but it was a bubble thing where you got this stuff and you put it on the end of a straw and you blew it and it turned into these bubbles and they became kind of hard. And they were like bubble gum, but they weren't chewable. They were just chemically plasticky stuff. And you turned them into little bubbles. That's what I saw him as, believe it or not. I saw him as being this, I don't want to say full of air, but he was just hard on the outside and trying to look big. And I think that's happened before, but because I don't know if he's trying to juggle a lot. And I feel like he's trying to give the impression everything is good. He's hard, but in reality, it's fragile. I looked into Nikki Haley and I saw her as licorice. And I know she's tall, or she's thin, and she has dark hair, so maybe that's why I thought of her as licorice. But I saw her wavy. I didn't see her as firm as I have in the past. I see her like she has to kind of go with whoever, because I know she's trying to get the nomination, but she has to balance that with not alienating Trump's voters and trying to get to, to the point of the primaries. So I did see her waving and strong, actually, because licorice is pretty dense. You can bite it, but it's very dense. So I do feel like she's got some substance to her. But I know that tonight she and Ron DeSantis are having a debate. And in the past, I've seen him as a very a donut that's been made of bad ingredients that are very chemically, like the junkiest stuff you can make a donut with, and that's him, and the grease is yucky. But I did see him as his donut again, and I saw her as a licorice going inside the hole of the donut and then tying herself up and pulling that donut apart in a way, or at least splitting it. So I think she'll do well tonight. I'll see if I get this posted, and we'll see if it's right or not. All of this are just imaginations in my mind. Maybe they're accurate, maybe they're not. But the energy, I feel that's the energy for that. And then I looked into Trump's next year. And in March and April, I still feel like are rough. And in the past, I told him I wasn't sure if the Supreme Court was going to hear all his appeals. The one for the civil fraud case in New York. And then the one he just went to court yesterday, or was it today? Yesterday, about given immunity as the ex-president. He can't be charged with insurrection. So it's the federal insurrection indictments. And that's not even at the Supreme Court. That's at the appellate court in Washington or New York. I'm not sure. And it doesn't sound like they're going to go for it. And he's going to be going on to perhaps the Supreme Court. I don't know. But I do see the Supreme Court allowing them to speak to some of the arguments on some of these cases. There's so many. But I think I saw Justice Roberts, his papers are still spread around like he isn't eager to move forward. He's like him and Han. But I do see March and April for Trump. Going back to Trump, I did see him. It's not good. So there will be some hiccups for him in March and April. I saw him running along, Mark Twain and Huck Finn, or the stories, Tom Sawyer, not Mark Twain, Tom Sawyer and Huck Finn, on the fence where they're carrying the stick and they're hitting it across the white picket fence as they're walking. I picture him like that, like he's being pretty relaxed in the summer, like he is okay with what's happening. I did see in the past, I saw him with this big dip before in October, like there's a giant dip in the land and he's going to fall into it before the election. But I did see him either being as a write-in candidate during the election. And at this moment, I feel the energies are still okay for him to be the nominee. I think it's going to be a complex bunch of voting. But I think they might have to, I feel like it's something about him being written in certain states or something like that. I don't know, maybe. But anyway, so that trench that I saw in October when I meditated on, I saw one of those trenches in World War I with muddy, dirty, cold, and with those sticks that they create, those cross sticks that they put in front of those trenches. So people coming couldn't get past the trenches. So it was like a protective barrier. And I feel like Jack Smith is doing that around the election. That made sense today when I did that. So something happens where he is not, now that I'm seeing this more and more, I feel like he's not even, he'll run, but I feel like there's going to be a huge thing that he won't be able to get past by the time the election is. I did see him in his lawyers. I see him putting pies in their faces, except for the woman, and I don't know why. And Biden he's just leaning against the wall. I know his brain is fine, but his body, he's just weak, and he's strong inside, but his body is not very. It's like my grandma said, it's running out of juice, she's winding down. He's winding down. That's the feeling. And he's still that meringue, and it's very frail. And I can see it's like inside is kind of breaking apart. The outside is still crusty, but he's making plans. He is making plans for the election and beyond. So he is doing that. He's strong on the outside. He has a definite disconnect to the border situation. I see the border, the southern border. There's like tons of channels that the people that either coming across or sneaking across or going through it legally. There's so many channels and it's so complicated and they're one after the other. And every time they go to one, it blocks their efforts. So he or the administration or is it Homeland Security or whoever, Kamala Harris, whoever's in charge or spearheading this, they've got to blow up a bunch of these blockages, because I don't know if it's more money they need or if it's to close it down for a while till they get it sorted. But I feel like there's so many people or something that are not on the same page. It's just a mess. That has to be completely blown up. It's my trigger people. I saw the Maga people, they're not just Trumpers, they're MAGA people that really are following that mindset as a boba tea, little balls, like the little MAGA balls. Little MAGAs are the balls in the boba tea, and they're those tapioca ones, which are delicious, by the way. But they're in this liquid, the tea, and it's very loose, right? And then I saw them, so they're there and they're but they're not, there's nothing to grab onto, like they're floating around. Like they're trying to figure a way to make something real, change things, but I don't see that as happening. I did see that black and white cookie, the Dems and Republicans on the cookie. Like I said, it's not race related at all, just difference of opinion, Democrat or Republican. Somebody's wearing it as a hat. And I don't know if that's Elise Stefanik or what, but I see somebody's wearing it as a hat. Like, look at me, I've got it. We're not going to talk to the other side because we're just smarter or better or whatever, you know. And then eventually I saw people shooting marbles out of the circle. Kids, like different senators, congressional leaders, people are trying to shoot the marbles out of the circle. And they do have some luck doing that. And I don't know, maybe that's the election next year. This year now. Maybe that's the election. And so, oh, Harry and Meghan, you're not into them. I understand. Saw him as a cinnamon bun, soft and squishy, very pliable. And he's too squishy. And she's like stamping around on him. I think, no, I won't say anything because I'm not sure yet. I haven't done that very depth, but I did just see that. So thank you for coming by. I appreciate it very much. And I will keep doing this. And please like, subscribe, share, comment if you guys have any other interest. I still have some other questions I have not meditated. Somebody asked me about India and other things, and I'm going to get to that. So, and if I don't reply to your comments, I'm reading them all. So just remember that I'm reading them all. So thank you very much for doing that. Okay, till next time.